Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare.
Or just keep it on this side too. It doesn't matter what I'm singing, it's remind you when I'm speaking, right? This is good. Thank you. Okay, that's okay. So now we'll be having our evening Bhagavad Gita class, and we'll be discussing chapter 18, verse 74 of the Gita today. So, yes, if you'd like to participate, but we'll start off with the small kirtan. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Please repeat. Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Please repeat. Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodana Dana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodana Dana Prajajana Ranjana Dashananandana Rajajana Ranjana Tiraha Vanachari Yamuna Tiraha Vanachari Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai. Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman ki. Shri Gauranitai ki. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So yeah, thank you so much for coming again. So today we'll be discussing chapter 18, verse 74 of the Bhagavad Gita. So if you have read the base on your phone, you'd like to read the purport alongside me, that would be really nice. But before I start, I wanted to seek blessings from the previous acharyas, all the devotees present here, and the devotees online that may say something useful that will help you. So starting off with some prayers. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamshta He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pete Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So again, we're reading from chapter 18, verse 74. I'll read the verse a couple of times, and then I'll ask a few volunteers to repeat, if that's possible. Sanjaya Uvacha Iti aham Vasudevasya Patasya Mahatmanaha Samvadam Idim Ashrusham Adbhutam Romaharshanam Sanjay Uvacha Iti aham Vasudevasya Pathasya cha Mahatmanaha Samvadam Idim Ashrusham Adbhutam Romaharshanam Sanjay Uvacha Iti aham Vasudevasya Patasya Mahatmanaha Samvadam Idim Ashrusham Adbhutam Romaharshanam. Would anyone like to volunteer to repeat and lead? Yeah. Nikhil, do you know? Sanjaya Uvacha Ityaham Vasudevasya Parthasya cha Mahatmanaha Samvadam imam ashrusham Adbhutam Romaharshanam. Thank you. Any other volunteers? Shreya? You don't have a phone? Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Okay, so now the word for word translation of this verse, please repeat. Sanjaya Uvacha. Sanjaya said, Iti, thus, aham, I, Vasudeva, of Krishna, Parthasya, and Arjun, cha, also, Mahatmanaha, of the great soul, Samvadam, discussion, imam, this, ashrusham, have heard, adbhutam, wonderful, romaharshanam, making the hair stand on end. And now the translation in purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Sanjaya said, thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjun, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. And once again, Sanjaya said, thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjun, and so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. And the purport, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary Sanjaya what happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The entire study was related to the heart of Sanjaya by the grace of his spiritual master, Vyasa. He thus explained the theme of the battlefield. The conversation was wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls had never taken place before and would not take place again. It was wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity. Arjun, a great devotee of the Lord, if we follow in the footsteps of Arjun to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Sanjaya realized this and he began to understand it. He related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that wherever there is Krishna and Arjun, there is victory. So here we see that Sanjaya is talking about his experience of hearing the Bhagavad Gita, and Srila Prabhupada is commentating on that, so we can understand that Sanjaya is in a very elevated state of consciousness. Because when we hear the Bhagavad Gita, does our hair stand on end? No, right? That's not a symptom that we undergo. So Sanjay is clearly an elevated soul, you know. So he's in an advanced stage of devotional service. He's actually you experience this 8 transcendental symptoms of ecstasy in this when you reach the stage of power, and these are namely inertness, perspiration, standing of hairs on end, failing in the waist, trembling, paleness of body, tears in the eyes, and finally trance. And why was he highly qualified? Because he was a disciple of Vyasadeva, who is the compiler of Vedic literature. So he was rightly situated. And because he had pleased the spiritual master, so he was able to envision the whole conversation which had happened in a distant place between Arjun and Krishna. So Sanjaya had some supernatural ability, and according to the purport, he was highly elevated in spiritual ecstasy. So in this purport, Krishna is referred to with two names, and Arjuna is also referred to with two names. So there are different names for Krishna and Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. So here, Sanjaya is referring to Krishna as Vasudev. So Vasudev is the name for Krishna that has at least a couple of meanings. One meaning of Vasudev is the son of Vasudev. So Krishna's father in this incarnation was Vasudev, and therefore Krishna is called Vasudev, the son of Vasudev. Also, Krishna refers to the all-pervading feature of the Supreme Lord. And although the Lord has different features, he pervades everything. He's present in the heart of the living being, and he has a spiritual form which is sitting as the chariot driver of Arjuna. So this whole pervading feature of the Lord is called Vasudev. Arjuna in this verse is referred to as Partha, which means the son of Pritha. So Arjuna's mom is named Kunti, but she was also called Pritha. So Partha means the son of Pritha. And because Kunti was famous as a great devotee, so it was a great honor for Arjuna to be addressed as her son. So Prabhupada makes the point that the conversation was very wonderful. And one of the reasons he gives for this is because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity Arjuna. It is also described that these personalities are great souls. So Krishna is a great soul because he is the Supreme Lord, the source of everything, as is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samadvitaha. Where Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So this is why Krishna is Mahatma, referred to as Mahatma. But you may ask, why is Arjuna also referred to as Mahatma? Can anyone guess? Any guesses? Why is Arjuna also? Is referred to as a great soul, Mahatma. You know? So Arjuna is also a Mahatma because he has surrendered to the will of Krishna. And because Arjuna is highly elevated in devotion to Krishna, one who is elevated in devotional service to Krishna becomes transcendentally situated like Krishna. So because Arjuna was a surrendered soul to Krishna, he is also great. Because only 1 in 1,000 people can understand Krishna. And Krishna, and in the Bhagavad Gita, it said in chapter 14, verse 26, Mam shayo ya bicharena bhakti yogena sevata sagunan samatityatan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So, which means, one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the mode of mature nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So, and actually, I've got the wrong verse. And you can correct me there. The verse I was supposed to refer to is Manusyanam sasheshu kachit yatati siddhaye yatatarmapi siddhanam kashtit mambeti tatvataha. So out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, Hardly anyone knows me in truth. So Krishna had understood Krishna. Arjun had understood Krishna in truth. So he was a great soul. So now, so what were the qualities of Arjun? So what do you think makes a good student? When will the teacher be reciprocative towards you? What does the student do? Good listener and ask intelligent questions. Yeah, thank you, Shreya. So did Arjun do this? He was very inquisitive. He asked intelligent questions. He was submissive. So that's one of the qualities of a disciple. So obviously in the Bhagavad Gita it says, Tadvidi prani patena pariprashena sevaya upadekshanti degnanam gnanina tattva darshina. So one of the qualities is a disciple is always, when we render service to Guru and inquire submissively, like he said, Guru is pleased and he imparts knowledge unto us because he has seen the truth. So anybody else? What's another quality of a disciple? Huh? Inquiring and being submissive, yeah? Anybody else? No? So I'll give you what the Bhagavatam says about, as a few purports that describe the qualities, also describe extra qualities of a disciple. So this is from the Canto 11, Chapter 3, verse 24 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, to serve the spiritual master, the disciple should learn cleanliness, austerity, tolerance, silence, study of Vedic knowledge, simplicity, celibacy, non-violence, and equanimity in the face of material dualities, such as heat and cold, happiness and distress. And then Prabhupada continues in chapter 3, verse 21, and he says, so it says, he's addressing the king, he says, my dear king, a disciple has to accept the spiritual master not only as spiritual master, but also as the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supersoul. In other words, the disciple should accept the spiritual master as God, because he is the eternal manifestation of Krishna. This is confirmed in every scripture, and the disciple should accept the spiritual master as such. One should learn Srimad Bhagavatam seriously, and with all respects and veneration for the spiritual master. Hearing and speaking Srimad Bhagavatam is the religious process which elevates one to the platform of serving and loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the attitude of a disciple should be to satisfy the bona fide spiritual master. Then it will be very easy for him to understand spiritual knowledge. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 24, verse 330, in the purport by Prabhupada, it says, the disciple must have the following qualifications. He must give up interest in the material bodily conception. He must give up material lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy. He should only be interested only in understanding the science of God, and he should be ready to consider all points in this matter. He should no longer think, I am this body, or this thing belongs to me. One must love the spiritual master with unflinching faith, and one must be very steady and fixed. The bona fide spiritual master should be inquisitive to understand transcendental subject matter. He must not search out faults among good qualities, and he should no longer be interested in material topics. His only interest should be Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as far as the mutual testing of the spiritual master and disciple is concerned, Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai. As far as the mutual testing of the spiritual master and disciple is concerned, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that a bona fide disciple must be very inquisitive to understand the transcendental subject matter, as is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, verse 21, where it says, Tad mad gurum pabatyate jignasu shaya uttamam. One who is inquisitive to understand the highest goal and benefit of life must approach a bona fide spiritual master and surrender unto him. So that's it. Here are a few qualities of a disciple. And I thought it was quite, before I carry on, I thought it'd be quite nice to read, because it's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day today. He wrote a nice poem on the essence of being a disciple, and this is what he described was a good disciple. So I thought it'd be nice to read this. He said, "A true disciple knows his Gurudev to be someone who is extremely dear to Krishna and who is the servitor Lord, Devak Bhagwan. A sincere disciple has the same devotion for his Gurudev that he has for the Supreme Lord, and he worships and serves him in the same way. Those who do not serve their Gurudev in this way fall from their positions as disciples. No one can chant the holy names purely unless they see Gurudev as non-different from Krishna, as Krishna's manifestation. I shall serve Shri Guru and Gauranga with simplicity and sincerity under the guidance of Gurudev. My Gurudev has the word of the Supreme Lord, and I will be obedient to that word in the proper way. I will not disrespect my Gurudev under the influence of anyone in this world. If I have become proud, if I have to go to hell by carrying out the order of my Gurudev, who was sent by Krishna, then I want to sign a contract to go to hell for eternity." That's quite amazing, right? "I will not listen to anything anyone says other than the orders of my Gurudev. By the power that has come to me by the lotus feet of my Gurudev, I will throw out all other currents of consciousness of the world with a punch of my fist. If I throw a particle of dust from the pollen of the lotus feet of Gurudev, then millions of people of this world will be delivered. There is no scholarship, there is no good concept within the 14 worlds other than a particle of dust from the lotus feet of my Gurudev. A true disciple will have this kind of nishtha in the Gurudev." So this poem was originally presented by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to his spiritual master. So this is the mood in which we should serve our spiritual master and approach a spiritual master to get their mercy and blessings, because the only way to understand Krishna is to please the spiritual master. He's like the transparent medium. It's like the only way to access Krishna is through Radharani, and so Guru represents almost represents Radharani's mercy for us, right? So and he could recommend us to Krishna, just like the CEO of a company has a lot of influence. So CEO of the company can tell the person whoever's employing, or the HR team, that this person is very good. Like, employ this person. So similarly, Guru could do that for us if we please him. So that should be the goal of our life, is to please Guru And we also see that Srila Prabhupada also imbibed this mood as well. So continuing with this purport, so people in general are contaminated by the material world, but those who are actually transcendental transcend the influence of material nature. And Arjuna was such a person who was transcendentally situated because of his complete devotion to Krishna. So they're both on a spiritual platform, although Krishna is the spiritual master and Arjuna is the servant. They are both transcendental to the reactions of the material energy. So Arjuna isn't someone who is just living out his karma, but his life is controlled by the Supreme Lord because of his great devotion to the Lord. It is actually described that the Lord arranged that Arjuna was put into illusion so that this conversation could take place for the benefit of humanity, because usually Arjuna would have not been doubtful about his duty. So this was Krishna's arrangement so that he could speak the Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of us. So this knowledge about God and the soul and their relationship is described as being very confidential knowledge. And here the Supreme Authority, the Supreme Lord, is speaking this knowledge. So it is the ultimate authoritative knowledge. This knowledge is called Atma Tattva, knowledge of the self, and is a perfection of life. To understand this knowledge in human society. But however, we know that, as we know, not many people take up to trying to understand this. So Prabhupada explains in the purport that the perfection is to understand the soul is different from the body, and to realize this, and to be fixed in this platform. And so people try to ascertain what God is through mental speculation, but God is actually beyond our ability to speculate and our material senses. We could only understand Krishna through devotional service. And Krishna says that so many times, there's so many references of this. But one reference of this is in the Nectar of Devotion, where it says, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi Na Bhavat Graham Indriya Sevan Mukha Hi Jivadoy Swayam Eva Spuratyadha. And it's also, this verse is repeated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita again, so it stresses how important it is. So material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified, and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. So although by the strength of our own mental concoction, we can't understand the situation of the Lord, he could reveal his situation to us. So, and he reveals this situation, he reveals himself in the Bhagavad Gita. And so if we take up the instructions given by the Bhagavad Gita, not whimsically, but sincerely, so it shouldn't be that, I don't like the fact that I have to wake up early and chant my rounds. That's the part I don't want to do. It's because it's so much austerity, I don't want to do this. Well, I don't want to fast the Ekadashi. It shouldn't be like that. If you take the Bhagavad Gita as it is, so it's just like, I give this example of, say you're trying to make pizza. Now, you have the tomatoes, you have the flour, you may have some toppings, but if you don't have the water to bind it, how are you going to make the base? So similarly, if you're not going to follow the Bhagavad Gita as is, we're not going to get our end product, what we really want. You're not going to get a pizza, but we're just going to get a mess of ingredients. So we're not going to really attain, so like this, we should know, even with medicine, if you're making a medicine and you miss out an ingredient, is that going to cure the person? No. So similarly, if you want to experience Krishna, to follow the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yeah? So to understand Krishna, first of all, we have to accept Krishna as he describes himself, and then we have to act according to the direction Krishna gives, as he can only be known by undivided devotional service. Basically, we could see Krishna, like Arjuna, if he carry out undivided devotional service. So this is very wonderful because this is the highest knowledge and is being explained by Krishna himself to the Supreme, who is the Supreme Authority. And sometimes we see that Krishna puts forward questions to Arjuna puts forward questions to Krishna, just so that Krishna can provide an authoritative answer. So, for example, a question that Arjuna asked towards the end of the 6th chapter is, he was worried about what happens if he engages in self-realization but desists from the path. He said, "O my dear, armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud, with no position in any sphere? This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, there is no one to be found who could destroy this doubt." So obviously Arjuna is established in Krishna's position as authority and as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna is the undisputed topmost authority, and we are given the most confidential knowledge by the Supreme Authority himself. And so someone who is highly elevated in spiritual consciousness can appreciate this great opportunity, and Sanjay was also such a person. He was ecstatic hearing this divine knowledge from the original source, that his hair was standing on end. So another very important point that Prabhupada makes in his lectures and purport is that if we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Who doesn't want that? We all want to be happy and successful. So we better follow Arjuna. So he stresses that there is actually a way in which the Bhagavad Gita is supposed to be understood. It is not like different people can read Bhagavad Gita and get a different understanding out of it. There's many different commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada makes the point that some of these commentaries are written by devotees and some by demons. And those written by the devotees are factual, and those written by the demons are erroneous. So to judge whether a commentary is valid, Prabhupada makes the point that the commentary has to accept Krishna the same way as the original disciple and student of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's disciple, Arjuna, accepted the Bhagavad Gita. Any other commentaries lead us away from the true message of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is why we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, because it was spoken by Krishna himself, and without any, and by Prabhupada, who is in the distinct succession. And then Prabhupada ends the purport by saying that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. So of course, Dhritarashtra was hoping that his sons, and not Arjuna, would win the war. But then Sanjaya sort of disappointed him with what he said in the end. But that was the actual truth. Arjuna and his brothers, as great devotees of Krishna, chose to be in agreement with the Lord. And similarly, if we're in agreement with the Lord, we will be victorious. And so Srila Prabhupada talked about how the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is going to spread throughout the world. So Lord Chaitanya predicted this holy name will be chanted in every town and village. Prabhupada said this is going to happen for sure, but we have the opportunity to make it happen, and if we will, will be a glorious success. So we all have a part to play in trying to spread the Sankirtan movement, trying to give others Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada, he came to New York virtually with no money. He came with no money and no support. But because he had faith in the power of Krishna and Guru, he once told one of his disciples to print 17 volumes of his books in 2 months, because they had gotten very far behind. And his disciple, Ramasara, said, quite obvious, that's impossible. How can you print 17 volumes in 2 months? And Srila Prabhupada's response to this was, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary, because actually, for Krishna, everything is possible. As if Krishna wants something to happen, he will make it happen. So Prabhupada had the vision, of course, and in the late 60s, he got onto the Jaladuta for 38 days, going across the Atlantic and coming across to New York, because he felt it was possible that people in the West could become a devotee of Krishna, and that Krishna, and he established that Krishna actually isn't a Hindu god, but actually the source of spiritual and material worlds and all living entities, of fragmental parts eternally, and therefore anywhere so therefore anyone could, because we're all parts and parcels of Krishna, we all gain satisfaction from positively engaging in the devotional service of the Lord. So I thought it would be nice to read a bit about Prabhupada's achievements. So in retired life, in 1950, Srila Prabhupada accepted Vanaprastha, retired life, in order to devote more time to his spiritual studies. In 1953, he received the title Bhaktivedanta from his godbrothers, which means one who has understood the import of the Vedanta and is firmly fixed up in bhakti. He traveled to Vrindavan and lived at the Radha Damodar temple. 9 years later, in 1959, he took sannyas, the renounced order of life. It was during his stay at the Radha Damodar temple that he started writing his masterpiece, the translation and commentary of the Srimad Bhagavatam in English. He also wrote Easy Journey to Other Planets, and within a span of few years, he had written 3 volumes of English translation and a commentary for the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. All these years, he was constantly contemplating over the orders of his spiritual master to preach in this Western world. He decided to start by taking the message of Krishna consciousness to America. In 1965, at the age of 69, he arrived in New York by a cargo ship called the Jaladuta. He suffered 2 massive heart attacks during the voyage. He was practically penniless and possessed only a few copies of his commentaries on the Srimad Bhagavatam and 40 rupees. After a difficult 6 months, his few followers rented a storefront, an apartment in Manhattan, where he regularly gave lectures, held kirtans, and distributed prasad. People from all walks of life, including hippies, got attracted to Swamiji, and became his followers. These followers gradually took initiation from him and became his disciples. And then Srila Prabhupada also reinstated the Back to Godhead magazine. And then in 1966, Srila Prabhupada established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We would not be here without Prabhupada. This temple would not exist. So, ISKCON in New York. His aim was to use the society to promote Krishna consciousness throughout the world. In 1967, he visited San Francisco and started an ISKCON society there. He then sent his disciples all over the world to spread Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message and open new centers in Montreal, Boston, London, Berlin, and other cities in North America, India, and Europe. But in India, 3 magnificent temples were initially planned. Vrindavan, the Krishna Balaram temple, with all its ancillary facilities. Bombay, a temple with an education and cultural center. And in Mayapur, a huge temple with a Vedic planetarium. Srila Prabhupada produced all his books bearing the three written in India. Within the next 11 years, he slept little and spent the early morning hours writing. He wrote almost daily between 1:30 and 4:30 a.m. So he dictated his text, which his disciples then typed and edited. Srila Prabhupada translated the original text from Sanskrit or Bengali word by word and gave a complete commentary. In the short time he spent in the West, he preached continuously, establishing 108 temples, wrote more than 60 volumes of transcendental literature, initiated 5,000 disciples, founded the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, and began a scientific academy and other trusts related to ISKCON. So here's some achievements of Prabhupada, and the reason why he was successful is because he was steadfast and determined to follow the orders of his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And like I said, when you want to do something for Krishna, nothing is impossible. Krishna will make everything possible because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So does anyone have any questions on that? Any questions? Or any comments or any corrections? No? So we've got 4 minutes to Gaura Arti. So please do stay for that. Thank you so much for listening to me, and please accept my apologies for any mistakes I might have made. And so that ends the Bhagavad Gita class. If no one has questions, thank you so much for coming. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prasthaya Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminite Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Purani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyadadasha Dharine.
Jai Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Acharya
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste
Bhaktivedanta Saraswati ki. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Bhaktivedanta Manor. It's very, very nice to see your presence here. Now we will have Prashadam, Mahaprashadam, coming straight from the deities. You must rush out and get your plate. In the reception, it will be served now. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Haribol!
Are you a Slytherin? Oh my goodness, we're enemies. I'm a Gryffindor. I wanted to be a Slytherin, but I cannot ever test out to be a Slytherin. Harry Potter. Because she's